Imagine bringing in an animal to solve a deadly problem, only to watch it spiral into something much worse. That's exactly what happened in Japan in the late 1970s. Venomous snake bites were a serious threat, especially in rural areas. Hoping to fix this, they introduced mongooses, thinking they would control the snake population and make life safer for humans. But over the next 25 years, something unpredictable happened. Instead of solving the issue, Japan found itself facing an even bigger environmental mess. This is the startling story of how one decision led to a new problem and the hard work it took to fix it. Let's explore why Japan's introduction of snake killers shocked everyone, and what we can learn from this cautionary tale. The venomous challenge, the Habu snake. Meet the Habu, a formidable Japanese pit viper. Venomous Habu snake bites have long been a critical concern in several Japanese regions, significantly impacting the lives of people. In 1980, around 400 individuals suffered bites, with some cases proving fatal. In 1980 alone, around 400 people were bitten by this snake, and unfortunately, some didn't survive. While Japan has many other species of venomous snakes, the most dangerous are the larger species like the Habu and their relatives, the eastern pit vipers. These snakes are part of the same family as puff adders and rattlesnakes, and their distant cousins include coral snakes and cobras. You can imagine the challenges the Japanese faced, which occurred quite frequently. With dangerous snakes in close proximity, people were constantly at risk of bites, making these venomous serpents a significant concern for many years because one bite is enough to cause damage. The Antidote Dilemma. Bites from Habu snakes were incredibly dangerous, largely because for many years there simply wasn't an antidote available. Even when one was finally developed, access to it remained a challenge. The antidote came in liquid form, making storage in rural areas without electricity or proper facilities nearly impossible. Unfortunately, most snake bites occur precisely in these remote areas. Installing power lines to reach these places took a significant amount of time and expense, and developing an alternative antidote posed similar hurdles. This lack of access made it even harder for those in rural communities to receive timely help after a snake bite. Eventually, Japan turned to what seemed like an ingenious solution: introduce an animal that preys on snakes and is immune to their venom. But, as with many plans, things didn't unfold quite as expected. But don't worry, they had a strategy to bring it all back under control. So, grab a cup of coffee and get ready to explore this unusual tale. You've probably already guessed which animal we're talking about: the mongoose. In 1979, Japan imported around 30 small Indian mongooses to Amami Oshima Island in hopes of addressing the local snake problem. The mongooses weren't just expected to keep the Habu snake population in check. They were also intended to reduce the rat population as a bonus. Native to countries like India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and Pakistan, the mongoose were unfamiliar with Japan's ecosystem, and the local wildlife wasn't prepared for them. Their arrival would dramatically shift the delicate balance of the island's ecosystem in ways no one could have anticipated. The unintended outcomes. By 1993, the mongoose population on Amami Oshima Island had grown dramatically, causing increasing concern for the Ministry of the Environment. It's clear why officials were worried. By the year 2000, mongoose numbers had exploded to about 10,000. Did this reduce the Habu snake population? Technically, yes, but not in the way intended. Contrary to initial hopes, the mongooses showed little interest in hunting the venomous Habu snakes. Instead, they went for easier prey, leaving the original problem of snake bites unresolved and still troubling the local community. Initially, mongooses seemed like the perfect solution to deal with snakes. Known for their speed and agility, they make excellent hunters, especially against cobras, which are close relatives of the Habu. One major advantage is that mongooses have unique receptors, allowing them to resist cobra venom, meaning they can survive bites that would be deadly to other animals. Plus, evolution equipped them with sharp reflexes and powerful teeth, making them very effective in snake encounters. On paper, mongooses seemed like an ideal choice for reducing the snake population and keeping the community safe from bites. However, a significant issue arose. Mongooses are active during the day, whereas the Habu snakes are nocturnal, meaning their paths rarely cross. Even on the rare occasions they did encounter each other, mongooses weren't particularly effective at hunting snakes. Going after snakes can be challenging, requiring a lot of effort and strategy. Why bother with that when there's plenty of easier prey around, like mice and rabbits? It's like choosing between a complex gourmet meal and fast food, except the gourmet meal might just strike back. So, despite their natural skills, mongooses turned out to be quite ineffective for the job they were brought in to perform. Meanwhile, the mongooses thrived and reproduced rapidly. By 2000, the Japanese government launched a program to reduce their numbers. Since then, approximately 32,000 mongooses have been captured, with the last known capture recorded in April 2018. No further cases have been reported since, leading experts to declare that the mongoose population on Amami Oshima has been completely eradicated. The Ministry of the Environment celebrated this achievement, though it's safe to say the mongooses likely wouldn't have shared in the excitement. So, how did Japan manage to get rid of the invasive mongooses? Well, the journey wasn't easy. At first, the plan was straightforward: set up traps along the roads. But these traps proved ineffective, as mongooses rarely fell for them. It quickly became evident that a more comprehensive strategy would be necessary. Japan responded by introducing specially designed traps, along with toxic bait and attractant substances that used scent to lure the mongooses. Additionally, they employed a range of monitoring techniques, including trained search dogs, to track and manage mongoose movements. This multifaceted approach proved far more effective and gradually started making a noticeable impact on controlling the mongoose population. A graph detailing this shows a steady decline in mongoose numbers over time, represented by a downward line, while bars illustrate the increasing number of traps deployed. These traps were specially tailored for mongooses, ensuring that other animals wouldn't be mistakenly captured. Local civilians played a vital role in this mission as well. Since 2005, teams of dedicated mongoose hunters, comprising both locals and volunteers, have roamed the island's forests and mountains, devoting countless hours to trapping mongooses. Their persistence and dedication have been crucial to the eradication program's success, proving that community involvement was essential to achieving the long-awaited victory over this invasive species. Why eradication was essential. Some may question the intense efforts taken to eradicate mongooses from Amami Oshima Island. Why couldn't they just leave the mongoose alone? Sure, they weren't native to the island, but did it really justify going to such extremes? The answer, quite simply, is yes. Rather than helping control the snake population as originally planned, the mongooses began preying on the island's native species, including the Amami rabbit and other vulnerable animals. Amami Oshima is a subtropical island and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, housing many rare species. Among these is the endangered Amami rabbit, a target for the mongooses, making their removal vital for preserving the island's unique ecosystem. Impact on endangered native species. The Amami rabbit, often referred to as a living fossil, represents one of the last remnants of an ancient line of Asian rabbits. While they once roamed the mainland, these rabbits are now found on only 2 small islands. Tragically, the introduction of mongooses has greatly reduced their chances of survival. In addition to the rabbits, mongoose predation has also devastated populations of ruku rats, now nearing extinction. In all, about 15 native species have suffered as a result of the mongoose introduction, a project that began with good intentions but has had devastating consequences. Threats to farming and ecosystems. The farming sector, too, has felt the impact of mongooses. These predators were quick to prey on farm birds, feast on fruits in the fields, and spread diseases to livestock they didn't even consume. Over just 20 years, the habitat for small animals on the island shrank by 40%. It became evident that introducing mongooses to Japan's smaller islands was a highly disruptive decision. Islands, as ecosystems, are particularly sensitive environments, home to species that may lack natural defenses against predators. Introducing a new predator disrupts this balance, especially if that predator is a mongoose, known to consume nearly anything it can catch. A hard lesson in ecosystem management. The situation on Amami Oshima serves as a stark reminder of the care needed when introducing non-native species to fragile island ecosystems. It took nearly 25 years to rid the island of mongooses, and close to 50 years to complete the overall project. While removing so many mongooses might seem extreme, Japan ultimately made the right choice to protect its local species. Invasive species can wreak havoc if allowed to spread unchecked. Without early intervention, controlling them becomes much more challenging, sometimes even impossible. An impressive victory in invasive species control. Japan's success in eradicating mongooses on Amami Oshima is notable. It is one of only 9 cases worldwide where mongooses have been entirely removed, and the only case on such a large island. This experience underscores the importance of rapid response when tackling invasive species to protect native wildlife and maintain the balance of unique ecosystems like those found on Amami Oshima. A drop in Habu snake incidents. Interestingly, Habu snake bites have significantly declined, but this improvement wasn't due to the mongooses. By 2020, the number of bites dropped to about 60 per year, thanks to increased preventative measures and easier access to antidotes, which helped prevent fatalities. Since 1992, there hasn't been a single reported death from a Habu bite. This progress highlights the critical role of accessible medical care and public education in managing snakebite risks effectively. A continuing battle against invasive species. While the mongoose population on Amami Oshima may have been eradicated, the battle isn't over. Mongooses still inhabit other islands, and the lessons learned from Amami Oshima are now being applied across Japan. For example, a team of specialists is preparing to head to northern Okinawa, where mongooses have also been spotted. There's a genuine risk that mongooses from Okinawa could reinvade Amami Oshima, potentially forcing Japan to restart its eradication efforts. Mongooses were introduced to Okinawa during the Meiji era, around 70 years before they were brought to Amami Oshima. With a warmer climate and a habitat similar to their native range, Okinawa provides an environment in which mongooses thrive, creating even more challenges for Japan's conservationists. Efforts to control mongooses in Okinawa. Now, the mongoose population in northern Okinawa is somewhat contained, but they continue to thrive in the central and southern parts of the island. Special fences have been set up to prevent them from spreading further. These fences aren't tall, but they are designed with an L-shaped bottom, stopping mongooses from digging under and escaping. However, just as on Amami Oshima, the survival of Okinawa's unique bird species now depends on controlling the numbers. A familiar story of biological control gone wrong. If the story of introducing mongooses to control pests sounds familiar, it's because Japan isn't the first to attempt biological control, using one species to manage another. This field of science involves in-depth research into both the pest and its natural predators. After thorough studies, a suitable predator may be introduced, but only when the potential impact on other species has been carefully considered. For centuries, people have practiced biological control, often with success. One well-known example is the use of predatory insects by farmers to protect their fruit trees. However, as Japan's experience with the mongoose illustrates, biological control must be approached with extreme caution to avoid unforeseen consequences. Lessons from similar attempts. Worldwide. The small Asian mongoose has been introduced to places like Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, Puerto Rico, and even Hawaii. In many cases, the introductions initially seemed successful. Hawaii, for instance, imported mongooses in the 1800s to control rats in sugarcane fields. However, the plan soon failed as mongooses, being diurnal, rarely encountered nocturnal rats. Instead, they turned to easier prey, devastating Hawaii's native bird and turtle populations and leading to the extinction of at least 8 bird species. Similarly, in Jamaica, mongooses brought to control rats ultimately caused harm to local bird and reptile populations. Fewer animals meant more insects, leading to a tick outbreak. When British authorities were informed, they dismissed these concerns, assuming nature would balance itself. It didn't, and Jamaica's ecosystem suffered. Protecting natural balance. Both Japan's and other countries' experiences illustrate the potential dangers of introducing non-native species without thorough consideration. These stories serve as cautionary examples of how quickly nature's delicate balance can be disrupted when invasive species are introduced into sensitive ecosystems. In the end, Japan's battle against mongooses shows that invasive species can be managed, but at a tremendous cost. So, what do you think about Japan's actions? Was it worth sacrificing one species to protect others, or should they have opted for alternative measures to control the Habu snake population? Well, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you find this video eye-opening, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.